First story, am I the a-hole for canceling Christmas plans late on Christmas Eve after everyone had already arrived? I, 25 male, was meant to host my siblings, 19 male and 21 female, for Christmas. Our mom died several years ago, and I finished raising them because the a-hole who made us walked out when my mom was pregnant with my brother. My siblings don't remember him, but I do. My memories of him are not happy ones, and I even remember him hitting my mom twice. The thing is, we were better off without him, but he avoided child support even though mom chased him through the courts for years. He never paid. I always hated him. I always hoped he died at some point and would never be able to F up our lives again. My siblings didn't really talk about him, and neither did I. Though we did talk about what he did to mom and the bad stuff I remembered outside of that. There were 2 times years ago when they asked mom and she answered their questions in the best way she knew how. When mom died, my siblings were both under 18, so I moved them in with me, and we made it work. I also helped them go to college, which is what they wanted. I was finally able to afford a nice place for myself, and I always welcomed them to stay with me if we needed to. And it was clear I would be hosting Christmas for us for at least a few years. This year wasn't an exception, and they arrived yesterday morning. We hung out all day, and they had mentioned a hotel, and I asked if they had rooms in one, and they said no, that they thought we should go to a hotel restaurant one of these days. But they were acting off, and by 11 p.m. last night, I found out why. They had reached out to the guy who made us and had a relationship with him, and they knew I didn't want one, but decided to invite him to my home for Christmas. They told me they wanted us to be a family. I said no, and I told them I was never letting that man into my life. They said I can't avoid him while they have a relationship and to give it a chance, and it's Christmas and family. I told them to stop and that he will never be my family. They told me he was in a hotel room waiting to come today for Christmas Day dinner. We argued and they told me I needed to give this a chance, and he's my dad. I told them I wanted nothing from that man, and I wish he died and left us the fuff alone. They told me it's horrible to wish someone dead, and that he was coming whether I wanted him to or not. I kicked them out and told them none of them are welcome, and I said if he F's them over, or beats them, or threatens them, which he did to me when I was just a little kid, then they should not come to me, because I wouldn't pick up the pieces. I said they know what he did and they still want him, and they went behind my back and I would not celebrate with them or fix this for them. They didn't expect it and argued that I couldn't cancel Christmas and we're family, and I couldn't leave them to the streets. They had the choice to join him at the hotel or to drive back to campus overnight. I told them that. They texted a bunch, but I didn't reply, and I woke up a while ago to more of them. Am I the a-hole? Comment A. If they thought you would have been okay with it, they wouldn't have waited until Christmas Eve night to tell you. Not the a-hole, you are justified in what you said, and did they have no right to give you zero choice in the matter that is so out of line? Unfortunately, they get what they deserve now. They are free to give him the time of day if they wish, but to force it on you is something else entirely. Especially on Christmas Day. Sorry, but as siblings go, that is the absolute worst, most ungrateful and selfish act they could do. Exactly, and I only found out last night because I realized something was off, and they realized I suspected something. Otherwise, I would have been blindsided today. Remember, none of this is your doing. You didn't cancel Christmas. Your siblings tried to deceive you and force you into an uncomfortable and potentially dangerous situation in your own home. That is what ended the gathering. Just like if a guest decided to flip your dinner table and crap on the rug, that guy canceled the party. It was premeditated to try to put you in a position where you couldn't say no. It was manipulative and it was cruel. Well, you proved them wrong and stood up for your boundaries. Again, none of this was on you. Comment B, coming whether you want him there or not. It's your house. Leaving aside the family dynamics for a second, you just invite someone to another person's house like that? You are not the a-hole. Your feelings about the one who made you are valid. Your siblings are free to forgive and even encourage you to some degree to reconcile, but forcing the issue at Christmas when you are hosting is manipulative and cruel. How entitled you must be to go over the wishes of the person who raised you and explain to you the abuse he faced and witnessed? OP, maybe you should sue your father for child support. He still owes it to you. I don't think I would actually get the money. As much as I love the idea, he evaded it all this time, and my mom had the courts involved. I bet he would find it just as easy to flee this time as well. And I don't want to struggle financially like my mom did. Because of backdated child support. It's why she had to eventually stop. It was ruining us financially. Comment C, not the a-hole. That man abused your mom and abandoned and didn't give you guys a dime. And your siblings want you two to get alone all buddy-buddy? How did they even find him? I doubt your mom told them anything about them. Did she? Anyways, at Christmas, protect your peace and have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. She answered questions they had, but she didn't know where he was. The courts couldn't even make him pay child support. That'll tell you how far he went to not pay for us. I'm going through similar stuff. My dad cheated and left 5 years ago. And now he's trying to stop paying child support altogether. But why in the world would they want a relationship with that man? I honestly have no idea. Grass is always greener stuff, maybe. Chasing proof that he's not as bad as I said, and Mom explained. In very PG ways, honestly. Or maybe they just don't care what he did in the past. Next story. Am I the a-hole for humiliating a dad for not knowing the rules of soccer? I, male 18, am a soccer referee. I have officiated since 2020 and have played soccer for 12 years now. I have been wondering about this for a while now. Last weekend, I was officiating a few games for under 10 boys. For ages 10 and under in the select league I was reffing, there is a special set of rules. There is a line called the build-out line, and it is essentially a line on both ends of the field, about 10 yards in front of the goalkeeping box. So long as you are behind the line, it does not matter where the players on the opposing team are. You can be past the defenders, but not past the build-out line, and score. In an older age group, offside would apply, and this would not be allowed. However, this is very clearly written in the rules, and in the last game I reffed, one of the kids on the blue team scored 3 goals this way, behind the last defender, but not passing the build-out line, so they all counted. Every time some dad from the team that was losing kept screaming that I had no idea what I was doing and that every one of the goals was offside. I heard one of the parents say it's onside because of the build-out lines, but it was very quiet. The dad continued to shout, but I ignored him, and the game finished with his team losing 6-0. At the end, he was swearing to a bunch of the parents on his side, and I heard him say, "This ref is effing terrible." I walked over to him after I blew my whistle and said, "Every one of those goals was legal because of the build-out line rules. You should consider learning the rules of the sport before you sign up your own child and swear in front of a bunch of kids." He looked like he was about to explode. Some of the parents looked angry too, and his little circle went quiet. He started clapping sarcastically and said, "Way to keep it professional, sir." I then left. I told my parents and my mother laughed. My father told me I shouldn't bother associating with people like that, and it makes me stoop to their level. Am I the a-hole? Comment A, not the a-hole. If anything, you were far too nice. A lot of leagues will quickly kick out parents who are being disrespectful to the refs, especially if they're swearing at a kid's game. Yeah, I usually don't tend to dish any cards out at any ages under 13. Typically, I issue warnings and kickouts to parents at ages higher. But I didn't bother for this because the dad was seething more and more. And to be honest, I found it a bit funny, lol. He only started swearing towards the end as well. But usually I would be more strict when it comes to spectator dissent. I kind of just was a bit more lenient because of the age group. Comment B, not the a-hole. The dad may have been sarcastic, but you truly did handle it in a calm and professional way. You swiftly schooled him and moved on. Comment C, not the a-hole. The only thing I think you should maybe have done differently would be to give him this dressing down sooner. If a parent is being rude and disruptive, you can ask the coach to speak to them at any time. If they refuse to stop, you can ask them to leave the field park. Him being loud and wrong was distracting for you. It was also certainly distracting for the kids trying to play and learn. That dad blew up because he's a hothead and he was embarrassed. That's on him. You shouldn't feel bad about it. Comment D. As a past sports league board member, I would 100% expect my league coaching staff to step in after the first incident, and I would expect that parent to be banned from games if disrespected a ref or a coach. You get 10 stars for professionalism. I would talk to the league staff that hired you about how to handle these situations. At a minimum, I would expect them to empower you to tell the coach on that parent's team that they need to rein in their own bystanders charged parents. If they fail to rein them in, I would start putting penalties on the team. You shouldn't be subjected to that, and his kids shouldn't be seeing it. Not the a-hole. Comment E. Not the a-hole. I would suggest phrasing it as the rules of the league rather than rules of the sport, since most of us who have played, reffed, and coached soccer have never heard of build-out lines, although it seems like a smart variant for little kids. Definitely tell your supervisor which team the parent belonged to and ask that they have the coach speak to him before the next game. In the future, tell the parent to be quiet during the game. My 14-yo threw a parent out mid-game for behavior like that. The parent straightened up, and when my son officiated a future game of theirs, other parents thanked him, as it had really straightened the guy's behavior out, and everyone was enjoying the games more as a result. My son also told a coach he'd throw him out if he questioned his calls again, without having the rule book open to the correct page and being right. Because my son was correct, and the coach was undermining his authority by repeatedly challenging the calls. No one needs that in little kids' sports, especially when these adults are trying to intimidate you kids who are officiating. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making Christmas awkward when I said I didn't care if my mom ended up divorced? My dad died when my mom was pregnant with me, 15 male. My brother was 6 when Dad died and always talked about him and told me stories about him. He was really affected by Dad's death and kept him alive for me in a way. I can't really describe it, but some of my favorite memories of my brother telling me bedtime stories that were just stories about Dad instead of stories from books or made-up stuff. He only had 5 he knew from living them, but they were the best, and he told me stories he got from Dad's family too, just way less frequently since they weren't his lived stories. This stuff made me feel like I still had a dad, even though I didn't have one with me. When I was 6, Mom met my stepdad and married him after 5 months of dating. He wanted a really fast family and wanted to adopt me and my brother, but my brother hated him for expecting it. They had a fight when it was mentioned because our stepdad said he'd be the man of the house and our family, so it only made sense. And my brother told him he was a stranger. We only knew him for 3 months when this was happening, so my brother wasn't wrong. It offended our stepdad, though. I wasn't okay with it either, and that pissed him off more. He brought it up a bunch of times the first year, and then like 5 times a year after that. My brother told him he'd rather be dead than let him be his dad. I said no, but I tried to not be a jerk about it, but I didn't want it, and got kind of annoyed by being asked so much. I said that too, but I was told it was something he'd keep asking, because he felt he deserved it. My mom wanted him to have what he wanted, and they didn't think it was fair for me to say no when I didn't ever know my dad or have a relationship with him. My mom gave my brother a really hard time for being the cause of it, and my stepdad told me I should want a dad at my age. And he said that when I was a lot of ages. Yesterday things got awkward, and it's made today awkward too. We're not even that far into today. But my mom and stepdad sat me down, and he told me again he wanted to adopt me. Before I could say no again, he told me he's tired of not having kids of his own. He can't have any, and he wants someone to pass on his family name, and he wants that to be me since he raised me as his own. He said he's tired of being dismissed as a dad, and if I don't accept him, then he's done, and he'll either divorce Mom or he's ignoring me and my brother forever. My mom told me I need to help her not get divorced, and do I want that for her? I said I don't care, and I don't want to be adopted, and I'm not giving in because of their marriage. They didn't like my answer, and now my mom's family are frustrated. I made things so awkward because we're all together and it's bad. I'll probably hide out in my bedroom for the rest of the day because it's intense downstairs. Am I the a-hole? Comment A, not the a-hole. You are absolutely not responsible for your mother's marriage. The foundations of their marriages have absolutely nothing to do with whether they adopt you or not. She seems to be manipulative, 100% this. And OP did not make Christmas awkward. His mom and her husband ruined Christmas with their emotional blackmail. They're massive a-holes, and so are the relatives trying to blame OP. Comment B, your mom is gross. She basically sold you and your brother as some kind of wedding dowry. Only you two aren't playing the gross game. It's your mom and her husband's fault for treating you two like dolls on a shelf to be bought and traded instead of living human beings with thoughts and ideas. Not the a-hole. This. It really sounds like this man married her because she had sons, and he has some weird patriarchal desire to be the man of the house and pass on his lineage. And they're mad that her children are not playing along with their game. He needs to get over himself. If he truly wanted to have children, they could have adopted at any point in time. They could have tried IUI or IVF. Clearly, he doesn't need biological children to fill that desire. He could have gotten children other ways. Comment C. This is emotional abuse from your mom and from her husband. Their marriage is no more your responsibility than it is mine. Not the a-hole. You're right, they shouldn't put that pressure on you. It's unfair to make your choices about their relationship. Your feelings matter more than their need for family validation. Comment D. Not the a-hole. Your mother failed as a mother. She brought someone you barely knew into your home and took his side when he tried pressuring you and your brother into something neither of you wanted. A mother is supposed to stand up for her kids. Your mother is not doing that. She never did, even though my brother begged her before. But it just made them fight. Comment E. Not the a-hole. Your mother is ready to use you to keep her marriage intact. That's what it amounts to. And even saying it makes me feel like I need a shower. If your stepdad spent all of his time fulfilling the role of a dad, instead of worrying about what it looked like on paper, who knows? Maybe you and or your brother would have been more receptive to the idea. He should have simply told you that he would love to adopt you, and if you ever wanted him to, just to let him know. Then he should have just shut up about it. Your mother is your mother, so I won't badmouth her any more than I already have. Comment F. It's disgusting that they're putting the fate of their marriage on your shoulders. I'd reach out to your brother or another adult to see if there is a way you can leave. My brother knows about it all, but he can't take me. Mom would fight it and she would win because my brother's my brother and not my second parent. He looked into whether I could live with him a year ago, and he was told even if I wanted it, we wouldn't have a chance when I have a living parent. Next story. Am I the a-hole here for calling my soon-to-be ex-husband effing psycho for putting the news of our divorce in the kids' presence? My soon-to-be ex-husband and I have been married for a long time, but we're going to get divorced soon. We've had our fair share of fights here and there, which is normal for any couple, but he is the type of man who complains a lot, make a ton of demands, and rarely does he acknowledge me or include me in big decisions. Things have been bad between us already, but it got worse when he got his diagnosis. He's suffering from medical condition. While I sympathize with his condition, I knew this was going to be the end of our marriage. I knew I could not handle this version of him with his condition and all. So I was very honest with him and told him that I wanted divorce. He was open to it yet, resentful towards me, but he's been for a while now, so yeah. We agreed to tell the kids after Christmas and just be together as a family and enjoy the holidays. Well, he wanted to be petty and get back at me, but I didn't think he'd go to such lengths. In the morning when our kids, they're 13 and 15 by the way, opened their Christmas presents, they were shocked to find out their dad and I are getting divorced. Their dad printed this on paper and put the papers in their gift boxes. It was horrible, especially the way he worded it, "Merry Christmas, your mom is divorcing me." The house turned into a crying mess. He wasn't even there. He went to get coffee or whatever. He knew what was going to happen. Thus, he left the house in the morning. I didn't know what to do. I tried my best to get them to calm down, then called Mom. He came and I absolutely blew up at him and called him effing psycho for doing this to the kids. On Christmas, no less. He defended himself saying I was no better for deciding to end our marriage right after his diagnosis. I told him it was more because of his awful character than anything else, but he has tainted my image to the kids as they now think I'm leaving him for his condition and refuse to speak to me. It got out and in-laws got involved. He told everyone I called him a psycho and yelled at him for telling the kids the truth. They all came at me, especially his mother who hated me all those years for no apparent reason. She called me a B and said that if my relationship with the kids is ruined, then it is because of my own doing, and I have no one to blame but myself for being such an awful wife and mother. It escalated. He's moving out and the kids are with Mom. I'm feeling utterly devastated right now, but started to think that my outburst was unnecessary and calling him psycho and causing a scene instead of de-escalating the situation. Edit. His condition is physical, not mental. Comment. A. Remember, your relationship with your children is a marathon, not a sprint. One day they will look back on this and think their dad is a psycho. They will have lots of other examples of him being a nut job by then. Remember the Christmas dad traumatized us? While sipping a wine together in their 30s over Christmas dinner? Always be the bigger person. Always rise above and put your kids first. Trust that your kids are smart. Trust that your soon-to-be ex cannot hide his rotten core forever. Honestly, this should be documented as an attempt at parental alienation when the conversation turns to custody. It happened exactly this way with my husband. He thought his mom was the best thing ever, and his dad was a monster. His mom would constantly say horrible things about his dad and buy anything her kids wanted because she divorced his dad, because she was sleeping with his boss who had money. Over the years, as my husband got older, his mom was bouncing from marriage to relationship to home wrecking and so on. Until one day she was secretly screwing his friend in their shared home. Now him and his dad hang out and drink and talk mad crap about how much of a psychopath he should have seen his mom was and apologizes for not seeing it sooner. Comment B, make sure you document that and bring it to your lawyer. That's definitely cause for slandering the other parent and causing emotional harm to the kids. What in the absolute duck is wrong with him? Comment C, not the a-hole. And please, please keep the letters that the father wrote for the children, and any video you tried to take of them opening their gifts as evidence you will need during the divorce proceedings as evidence of his unhinged behavior. Also, keep copies and recordings of his family harassing you as well. Exactly, use it against him in court. He's poisoning your children against you, and you could use that against him in court. Comment D, my mom had an affair that lasted years, starting right after my father's cancer diagnosis and as his kidney disease got bad. My dad told me all about it, or so I thought. He smeared her image with telling me how she cheated over his health. I was angry for years before I grew up and came to terms with the fact that my father, God rest his soul, was a very abusive man, and she got it as bad as I did. She cheated because she needed someone to rely on and listen. She just needed someone. I'm 22 now, and I still don't think what she did was right, but I now understand, and she is my best friend. The commenter that said your relationship with your kids is a marathon and not a sprint was completely right. Be patient. They will come to see this for what it was.